Hilary Cramer is the editor of GameChangingStocks.com. Good enough to join us now. Hilary, thank you for being here this morning. We heard Brexit invoked by the president-elect himself the morning after. He was in Scotland, albeit a country that had voted overwhelmingly to remain. But he said, this is the movement that's coming over the pond.
That's right.
It would certainly seem to have made it here. The comparisons are how apt?
Well, it's about protectionism, right? So it's protectionism, it's anti-immigration, and it's reaching out to those who are working very hard, making less money, and feeling the pinch and the pressure of, of wages that aren't escalating while all other expenses are escalating. So the answer is that Donald Trump really tapped into the American people, and America on the East Coast and West Coast didn't quite realize it. But there is good news in all of this. Now, sure, the market seems to be very upset today. The market's just upset because it doesn't like uncertainty, and Wall Street invested a lot of money, billions of dollars, in seeing Hillary Clinton end up in the White House, because Hillary Clinton, in reality, was a friend of big business, Wall Street, venture capital, private equity, and there's no reason why Donald Trump would actually try to hurt economic development, and that's what we all have to understand. Now, what's the fear, $11 trillion of tax cuts he's promised over 10 years. That creates a bigger deficit. But, we can match that with Donald Trump committing to growing the military so it acts as a deterrent against us actually having to go to war. That's going to make companies like Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Boeing, Textron stronger. They're going to grow. Orders could grow. He's going to do whatever he can with those companies. Lastly, you have a company like Apple. Now, you have these great companies around the world that have locations around the world that are U.S. based. Apple has billions of dollars in Europe that it hasn't brought to the United States because it doesn't want to pay a certain huge tax on it. And Donald Trump has promised that those taxes would be cut.
Hillary, we know that Chinese President Xi Jinping just called Donald Trump to offer his congratulations. The relationship between the U.S. and China is a vital one in terms of trade. You talk about companies like Apple, multinational corporations. How are they going to look at this news?
Well, that's another reason why the Asian markets dropped so strongly. China dropped, and we saw Japan as well. And the problem there, of course, is the trading, because what Donald Trump has said about China and how he feels that we just have too many imports coming in from China. So it's going to, create a little bit of havoc. And China has its own problems right now, because really they're on thin ice. There's a banking system that many feel is really a house of cards ready to fall. But Donald Trump has to be very careful. Life isn't as simple as he makes it out to be. I mean, that's part of what a politician needs to do. But ultimately, trillions of dollars of our U.S. bonds are held by the Chinese. If we get the Chinese angry, or if they need currency, they'll start selling these bonds. They sell those bonds, rates rise, and then if we want a mortgage, mortgages are more expensive. And that's one other interesting point, the Federal Reserve. Donald Trump has gone after Janet Yellen. He believes that Janet Yellen has really tightened rates, hasn't tightened as much as he would have liked to have seen. I mean, a quarter of a point? So he really wants those reins to be loosened. He said he's going to fire her. And everyone's scared of that because we've had the printing presses going, the free money, and that is what has helped so many companies to continue buying back stock, issuing dividends, buying other companies. We never really got out of a lot of the 2008-2009 crisis. It was the Federal Reserve that saved us. No one really knows what's going to happen there. But we should have faith in Donald Trump. He should be a great president, and at the very least, he'll be very humorous, very funny, and we'll never know what he's going to say.
This is a point, though, where reality meets rhetoric. You mentioned perhaps the lack at a real and visceral level of recovery from 2008 and 2009, which speaks to perhaps what we saw finally come to pass last night. And perhaps the oldest saw of all, in an unconventional election cycle, people voted their pocketbooks. So if people voted their pocketbooks, and we've made it clear, it was the one area where Donald Trump never faltered. He never gave back a lead to Hillary Clinton with regard to who would be best for the economy. I'm waking up today, what's happening to my 401k?
Okay.
What's happening to my Social Security?
Okay, so yes, the markets are down, the futures are down, the markets will be down today. We might even have a very bad ending to the market. But over the next few weeks, expect a recovery. That doesn't mean 2 and 3 years down the road, we're going to still have a strong market, but don't have fear that the next stop is down 25%. We're going to see the market dip. Remember, there's a lot of fast money, a lot of big money out there that's leveraged up. They're going to have to sell today. There's a lot of institutional trading programs out there, like algorithms, that are going to be automatically selling as soon as they see the market down a certain percentage. So selling begets selling. Don't fall into the trap. If you have investments for the long term, hold them, keep them. This isn't the time to sell. This is how you lose a lot of money, selling into a market that seems to be falling apart.
Hillary, when you look to the medium term, let's call it, Donald Trump is a notoriously unpredictable candidate. Will he be an unpredictable president? We're not sure. When you talk about the markets, as we said at the beginning of this segment, they don't like volatility and they don't like unpredictability. Should Americans buckle in for at least the next 4 years with the idea that the markets are going to be up and down?
The markets could be up and down, certainly. I mean, it's an excellent question to ask because his volatility could create volatility in the markets. Expect more volatility, but in the long run, we still may go up, even though the volatility will be there. And the volatility will be there because of things that he'll say, because Donald Trump will take on certain opponents. He might not have the political grace and politeness that other politicians might have. But ultimately, if he surrounds himself with the right people, remember, everyone has to be confirmed, by another branch of our government, then he really will have the right people around him, hopefully, to make those decisions. A lot of the reason he was elected was because of this showmanship, because he did great TV. There were a lot of politicians on the Republican side. There were 17 in total, and as we all know, they were probably all more qualified, but he did great TV. I think he's going to adjust to being a great president. He just has to make that adjustment, and hopefully his people will help him.
That's a long path to go from great TV showman, to someone who was not supported by Fortune 500 CEOs. This is a Republican businessman who sent Wall Street running for the hills last night. And as I know you mentioned, Hillary Clinton, a friend of Wall Street, was something else we can speak about for another day. But as it regards now the 4 years to come, what suggests Donald Trump is a businessman? When you look back at his decades of business, what suggests to you that financially we're going to be okay?
Because he is committed. He ran on the premise of trying to bring jobs back. Okay, there are going to be some people disappointed. There are going to be some people in the coal belt that are going to find, no, their jobs aren't going to come back. But he's going to do whatever it takes. Now, if that means supporting sustainable energy, if that means having to subsidize clean technology, solar panels.
All of which would be a radical departure from his platform as it has been articulated thus far.
But he will do whatever it takes in order to see the economy grow. And I think that is our hope and what we really have to focus on going forward.
Hilary Cramer, we very much thank you for your insights at this admittedly early hour of the day. Very much appreciate it.